Hello, and welcome to another episode of AI in the Classroom Daily, a podcast helping educators make sense of AI without the hype. I'm Dan Cogan-Drew, and I use AI as a thinking partner, preparing each of these episodes because I think the best way to talk about AI in education is to work with it openly. So last episode, we dug into a report from the Rhythm Project about how AI is reshaping young people's relationships and emotional lives. Today, we're looking at a different study, one that covers some related ground, but arrives at a finding I hadn't seen before. And I want to make sure it gets the attention it deserves. It's the Common Sense Media Census, AI use by tweens and teens, published this month. They surveyed 1,204 kids aged 9 to 17, nationally representative, and what they found, I think, changes the frame on the conversations that schools have been having or maybe avoiding for the past 2 years. Most of what schools have done around AI over the last 2 years has been built on an assumption, and I want to take a minute to question that. Here's the stat probably everyone will lead with. 86% of kids ages 9 to 17 use or interact with AI in some form. Okay, that number matters, but I don't think it's the interesting one. The interesting finding is what kids are actually using AI for. And when you look at the data, the picture doesn't look the way most of us have been imagining it. 89% of young AI users say that they use it for entertainment, for fun. That's the top use. More than schoolwork, creative projects. About half are using it for fun on a weekly basis or more. Help with schoolwork or homework comes in second at 85%. And yes, that's high, and yes, it raises legitimate questions. But the fact that entertainment beats out school as the primary reason kids pick up these tools is, to me, very surprising. Here's what it means. The habits and assumptions kids are forming about AI are not primarily being formed in school under a teacher's guidance with some structure around how to use it well. They're being formed through play, through messing around, through asking AI to do something funny or surprising just to see what happens. One student, when they were asked an open-ended question about what adults don't understand about AI, put it like this. You can use it for a wide range of topics like making creatures, playing games, or just overall expressing yourself creatively. It's not just a way to cheat on homework or get a quick recipe. There's so much more. Schools have largely built their AI posture around one question. Is the student cheating? It's a real question. It deserves real answers. There's a real cost to asking it, as we've talked about in prior episodes, in terms of undermining relational trust between teachers and students. But if the dominant way kids are actually engaging with AI is recreational, then we've been spending most of our energy addressing a secondary problem and maybe missing the larger one. As we mentioned in yesterday's episode, given that we're heading into summer, in the coming months, we can expect to see a lot more use of AI for entertainment than for cheating. And the drift that happens through play is real. The same report finds that 37% of young AI users have used it to discuss their feelings or personal problems. Very few of those kids sat down one day and decided to use a chatbot as an emotional outlet. It starts somewhere else. Something casual, something fun, and then gradually it becomes something more. That's not a reason to panic, but it's a reason to understand what's actually going on here. Now, the finding that I think in this report matters most for teachers specifically is that only 35% of kids age 9 to 13 correctly know that AI cannot tell the difference between things that are true and things that are false. 42% believe AI can make that distinction, and 23% don't know. Separately, only 32% of kids correctly understand that AI is not responsible for the things it says. 21% describe themselves as knowing a lot about how AI works. Kids think they understand the tool. The data says they're overconfident in exactly the ways that matter most about accuracy, accountability, and about what these systems actually are and aren't doing when they produce an answer. Now, all of this taken together is not primarily a cheating problem. I think it's more like a comprehension problem. Kids are taking real questions to AI, questions about their health, their futures, their relationships, and they're trusting the output at a level that the output doesn't always deserve, partly because they don't understand what its limits are. So what have schools been doing about this? Here's how the report breaks this down. 73% of kids say their school has communicated about what they can and cannot use AI for in schoolwork. That's the rules conversation, I would say. But only 56% say that their school has discussed how to use AI safely. and only 51% say they've heard from a teacher about how to tell if information from AI is accurate and trustworthy. So, big picture, schools are teaching rules, but they're not teaching how it works, not how to evaluate what it produces. And the gap between those two things is where the real risk lives. The good news is that teachers already have tools for this: source evaluation, reading for bias, checking where information comes from and who produced it, understanding that the form something takes doesn't determine whether it's true. Librarians and literacy teachers have been building these skills in students for a long time. AI is a new medium, but the underlying challenge is one that education already knows how to address. It just hasn't been applied here in any systematic way yet. One more thing that we should know about this report that shouldn't go unnoticed. It goes down to age 9. Tweens, 4th and 5th graders, kids who are just learning to read critically, just developing their relationship to information and media. 81% of 9 to 12-year-olds use or interact with AI. 17% do so every day. The AI conversation in schools has been, almost entirely, a high school conversation. Policy debates, academic integrity statements, guidance for college essays. But the habits that kids are forming with AI in elementary and middle school will shape how they use it for years. And the adults who are best positioned to reach them at those ages, the elementary teachers, middle school librarians, school counselors, have been almost completely absent from the conversation happening at the district and policy level. 17% of kids who used AI chatbots say they've been shown or told something they felt wasn't okay or wasn't meant for someone their age. Out of that group, only 1/3 told a trusted adult. That means that 2 out of 3 kids who encountered something that disturbed them said nothing to anyone. That doesn't sound to me like a policy problem or a curriculum problem. That sounds like a relationship problem. The same kind of gap that's always existed when kids encounter something confusing or upsetting online, and the same kind of gap that schools have always needed human adults to close. Nothing in this report calls for a new program or a specialized certification. What it points toward is a shift in the questions teachers are asking. The current question in most schools, explicitly or implicitly, is, did you use AI for this? And if so, how? That's as much a rules question as anything. It's not a bad question, but it doesn't necessarily build understanding. A more useful question, I'd suggest, is how do you know if what AI told you is actually true? That question doesn't require you to be an AI expert. It requires you to be a teacher, to press on where knowledge comes from, to ask students to show their thinking, to make the process visible rather than just the product. And I think the entertainment angle is actually a way in. Kids talk more freely about how they use AI to have fun than they do about how they use it for school, because there's no risk of getting in trouble for the fun stuff. Ask them what they've been playing around with. Ask what surprised them. Ask if AI ever got something completely wrong in some bizarre way, because it does, and kids find it funny. That conversation naturally is going to lead to a more important one, which is how does AI get things wrong and what do you do about it? So for those of you who teach younger students, 4th, 5th, 6th graders, I think it's worth asking a direct question of your school or your administration. Is the AI guidance we have actually designed for kids the age of the kids that we teach? Because in most cases, the answer is no. So if you are one of these teachers who's working with 4th, 5th, 6th graders, have you had a real conversation about how they use AI for fun? What does that look and sound like? What are some of the examples that they gave you? Did anything in the conversation surprise you? Very curious to know what your take is on the results from this Common Sense Media survey and report, especially the questions about entertainment in the lives of young people. As always, thanks for spending time with us, and we will see you again soon. And I'll add, we're going to take a little break on the show. This is going to be airing on June 30th, and we're going to be taking the weekend of July 4th off, starting with the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So we'll see you again July 6th on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.